Hello everyone and welcome back to lesson 2. I am your host today slash programmer today, TheBurgerStormProgrammer, and today's lesson, I think I reworked some of my lessons from the first lesson was just buttons, and it was very quick and I didn't go in depth, but we'll go in depth with that later when we start making projects and seeing how buttons are made. But now I think I'm going to include 2 to 3 different things in a lesson every day, so then that you get to absorb more, so then we can get to more projects and cool things that you can do with C# forms. So with today, we'll continue on with the toolbox, and we will be checking out what's called a checkbox. A checkbox is essentially what it sounds. You check it with a check mark or without a check mark, and you have a label with it as well. You can either use the label and change the label name in the properties down here, what's called its text. You can also change to what it is up here, checkbox 1, and so on and so forth. So what we're going to do today, though, is we're going to copy it and we're going to paste it a couple times, and essentially we're going to show you when we run it what it looks like. Default is exactly what it looks like. You can click it, unclick it, and what you can do with this is a plethora of different things. You can link it with certain events to happen. You can do so many different things. For instance, you could say if you're making a tool, you can, if you have a map next to it or something, you're making like a 2D map, you can turn on the map, turn off the map, turn on the grid, so on and so forth. And with that, you can, there's a true and a false. And in the programming aspect, it's the same thing with the buttons. You turn visible, click is true, click is false, or in this case it would be is selected is true, is selected is false. And with that, those are essentially the checkboxes. We can do so much with these. These are mainly used for probably tools. I've seen them used in definitely like an RPG kind of aspect. I've made one myself. And I think we're going to do some sort of slight RPG when it comes down and on the next couple videos. And with that, because we almost have everything we need to make a short text-based game RPG. And then we can click out. And then the next thing would be a CheckedListBox. So with this, is kind of the same thing as a checkbox. It's just in a list now that you can hold on to, and essentially, yeah. So with that, you can definitely add as much as you want. So with that, let's with this we can add more. So let's go into the code and definitely get some of this going. So if we go into the program, we go to the forum and go to definition, we can start see nothing's there. Let's make a function in the class called void set ListBox items. We're going to just have a default no parameter list since there's no need. Well, first of all, because you're in C#, you always want to do public or public before. Oh, oops. Forgot the L. Can't forget the L in public. You can use private, public, protected, and it's different from C++. You always have to put a public void or public void and double string char any variable type after. So with this, we're going to do a for loop, and we're going to set, let's set it about 20, and int I, that is your variable name, equals 0. So you're starting, the integer I is starting at 0, and if I is less than 20, so I will be starting at 0, and it will increment every time it is less than 20, so it will keep going up. To a little funny thing, I couldn't get this to I couldn't understand this when I was programming. I couldn't figure out for loops, and I was making while loops, and I would have an increment in it. I would do while true equals while true, do this statement, I plus plus with an integer outside the loop, and essentially that's just what a for loop is. It's a while loop that is continuously incrementing until you break that cycle. And it never clicked to me until I got halfway through my degree, and it just, boom, now I love them. They're the best things in the world. So with this, to do the checklist box, we're going to list checkbox. Oh, did we save it? I don't know. Let's it should come up now. Oh, checked list box. That's what it is. So you have the time, you just don't know. So then with that, you have a variety of different attributes in here, and you can focus it, you can capture it, you can get its client size for its rectangle, because all of them are rectangles. And with that, we can enable them, but we're going to look for something called items. Items is what's inside of that checked list box 1, and that checklist box 1 is right now is empty. So with that, we can do dot, and a checklist box has an item, which is an array of all different items. So that's why you see the IntelliSense saying adds the element. There's an add range and how big you want it. You can clear the list that contains everything. You can see contains has so many how many entities or elements are in that array. You can get the index of a specific point in that array. You can make it only reloading. You can make a specific index of that array to a string to print out. But at this point in time, we only really want to do add, because add is what's going to add to that list. And it wants an object item. The object item means basically anything. So, and a check state. But what we are going to do is we're just going to do a simple string. What we're going to do is string BurgerStorm equals I dot toString plus, let's do a weird face. Come on, guys. See, I have no idea if I can do one of these weird faces, but let's try. Oh yeah, that's perfect. And with that, we can totally, because the I is always going to increment, we can copy that. Copy that into the list, and there we go. And so far, that's all we need to do. But there's one big problem that we're still looking at, and that is that the function is never going to get called. And because it's never going to get called, there's no function to continuously call it. And we don't really need that currently. So what we would do is we would just call this function in the default constructor, because that's what we want to add it to right when we begin. So when we paste this, so we can just do a semicolon. Real quick, we should space this out so we can have each different number. And with that, we can start. Look at all of those. 0 to 19. It didn't add that underscore, but I'm pretty sure that has something to do with a variable issue. Yes, if you hear that, that is definitely a washing machine. But with that, and I will make sure next time, the next lesson, that the washing machine will not go off. But maybe we can edit that in post. But with that, it loaded all of the numbers from 1 to 19 with that face. and they're all not checked. We could always go back into the program. Let's stop it. And when we add it, we can say true. And with that, when we control save it again and we load it up, all of them will be checked. So what we can do now is we can do a random temp equals new random. So we can do now. What this is we're going to make a random number. And what we're going to do is temp dot next equals from 0 to 1. And with that, we're going to do an if statement saying if temp equals 1, and then we do else, because we wouldn't need a second if statement. If temp equals 1, we need to make another variable. Int num equals that. So with that, you can now what we're going to do is we're going to either say this, and we're going to say copy paste, and with that num we're going to say that's true, and if not we're going to say that's false. And we don't need this anymore, and we can bring this all the way up to the top. So with that, now it's going to be randomized every time, and we don't know what's going to be checked and what's not going to be checked. So let's start. Let's see what happens. Well, none of them got checked. Oh, I think it's 0 to 2. Maybe I was a liar. There we go. Yeah, it was 0 to 2. If we did 0 to 1, it would always be 0. So with that, it's checking every other, and if we load it again, now it's a different state. So with that, every time it's different checks. So with that, those are definitely that is a checklist box. We also can use that for clicking and switching just as much as that. We can click, they could be specific objects. We're probably going to use them for a upcoming project. And they can switch different panels, turn them on, turn them off, having different attributes. So with that, this is the basic of a checklist box. I really appreciate your time, and you guys are definitely, I hope you guys are more informed and seeing how it works. Again, I'm sorry about the dog in there. I moved to a new home, and I'm still getting situated, and my new dryer going off, and it has a big tune to it. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed that second lesson with the checkboxes and the checklist boxes, and I hope you enjoy. And if you could like, comment, and subscribe, that would be great. And with that, have a great day, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.